Hey guys, welcome back. So it is almost Christmas here. It's December 20th, almost 21st right now. Maybe it is the 21st. I don't even know. But every year on Christmas Day, I do my annual Christmas Story Star Wars mashup leg lamp, which is right there. I do a photo where I try to make it like a real photo, make it nice with cool lights and set it up really neat. And I do a little photo shoot with my lamp every year. So this year's going to be no exception. Last year I themed it a little bit with the Force Awakens. With I have back here, right there, I have my BB-8 leg lamp, or arm lamp, I should say, the red arm from C-3PO with the BB-8 head. Figured that was fitting for the Force Awakens. However, this year we have Rogue One, so I need to do a new setup, and I'm going to use my same leg lamp. I'm not going to include the BB-8 lamp. But I am going to try to include some elements that we've seen in Rogue One, maybe like the Stormtroopers in the background. I do have my K2SO back here. Where is he? Right there. And I might try to do one of those camera tricks. I never made my video on that. I'll get back to that soon. I have a thing that's called Trolling K2SO, and I've been taking that toy and taking photos with it, doing forced perspective, so it looks like I'm in the scene with it, and they're pretty fun to set up. If you've never tried it, I'll do a video to show how to set them up. It's really easy, and if you do it right, it can look pretty convincing. I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, you built K2SO already," and I haven't. It's just a toy back there. But yeah, we'll go into that. But anyway, I got to set this space up. So let's get started. Stormtrooper in the background is not so bad. I do have a couple other trooper helmets, and I have my bug droid, my Death Star droid. And in Rogue One, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but you see them twice. You see a silver one and a black one, just like in A New Hope. There's a black one on the Death Star and a silver one in the Sandcrawler. So I may include the bug droid. I would like to potentially paint this whole costume that I've started black, and maybe have him kind of off in the background, and have K2 somewhere up here. A trick to shooting this, though, is I have to use a pretty long lens, and I don't want to be too close to the wall, because what happens is if I'm lighting this scene, the light from the scene will get on the walls and everything. So I'm going to push the whole setup out toward the middle a little bit so that everything will stay pretty dark around my little setup. And then I will light it carefully. Got K2 over here, which let me see if I can put him somewhere to show you how I would do this. And if I put K2 in the right place, obviously this is not tall enough, clearly, for this camera. But if I have my setup right there, and then I have K2 placed correctly, it almost could look like, well, with me behind it doesn't sell as well, but if I set him off to the side, like this, of the scene, might look like he's hanging out with me. Now, a trick to make him look real is once my scene back here is all illuminated, if I want him to look like he's in the scene, I'm going to have to add some kind of lighting to him to make it look like he's catching the light from the scene. That is very important to this kind of setup. I have some Stormtrooper blasters. These are pretty. How many Stormtrooper blasters do I have? I've got multiples. I've got at least 3 trooper blasters here. I think these might be some kind of cool decoration for the table, so maybe I can get these guys out. Oh yeah, K2. So I need to lift him up a little bit higher so that it looks like he's in the space with me. I need to go higher than that. Is that too high? So we're using our Stormtrooper back here for reference on the height. He needs to be taller than a Stormtrooper, but a little closer. Now, one thing that's going to help this is if I back the camera out and zoom in a bit into the scene, as opposed to having a totally, like right now I have a very wide shot. If I zoom it in a little bit, it'll sell K2 a little bit better. So and I still would have to raise him up. Right now, I am going to have to fidget with the lenses a bit to make this scene read all right. Now this is clearly not how I want to do this, but this is just a test. So if I walk back here, and right now this isn't set up right, but you get the idea. Like K2 sort of seems like he's in the scene. When you use a wider lens, whatever's closer to the camera is going to feel way bigger than what's further away. But if you use a longer lens, you can compress the image. So if you have something a little closer to the camera and something further away like this, but you're shooting with a really long lens, it's very hard to tell the scale difference. Even though obviously this is closer here, you can tell because it's wider. But if I shoot this with like a 50mm lens or a 70mm lens on my DSLR, I will probably actually set my camera up outside of my shop and shoot in through the door and frame up my little area here really nice, and then I'll force K2 into the picture. I think that could be really cool if I pull it off right. Right now there's a lot of excess light in the room with the lamp. So let's turn off some lights and see kind of what we start to get. So you'll see the darker it gets in the background, the more that lamp is going to stand out and look really cool. Now one problem with that, let me take this light down and so now the only light we have in here is the leg lamp. So I'll come over here and maybe this will look better. So now that this is the only light in the room, it really stands out. So stuff in the background is falling off into darkness, which is great. Now one problem with this is that since the room is so dark, the top of the dome doesn't have any light on it, and it doesn't show up. It doesn't read well as an R2 lamp. So what I'm going to have to do is get some kind of small light source and shine it down on the dome itself, and try not to get it on too much light spill on anything else in the area. That's going to help show that we have an actual R2 dome at the top and help sell this image. Because of Rogue One, I think I'm going to use the red guard here. Can make it in the scene this year. Then I might put a couple Trooper helmets on the table. I have a Darth Vader helmet that I think should show up over here because Vader made it into Rogue One. I'm going to have to add some little lights to light these up. Also, the bug droids show up. I think it'd be kind of cool to have one of the bug droids back here. Now, I don't have time to chrome that droid, but in the film, there is a black version of that droid that I think I could pull off the black droid from maybe like the waist up, which might be good. I might be able to set that up here and sell that because I think I have all the parts I need to do that from the waist up. But I'll have to spray paint that tomorrow. So it's starting to get a little bit closer to the setup. I still probably have to rearrange things and move this a little bit. We've got K2 over here. Not quite proper yet, but I'll get him aligned. I'm going to cram as much stuff in there as I can so it's interesting. And I still want the lamp to be the focal point, so I got to be careful to make that work properly. Alright, so I've got my little bug droid back here. It'd be kind of cool if I can get him just enough in the light so that you can tell what's going on there. I think that would be sort of neat. Maybe I can pose in a way that hides the fact that he doesn't have both his legs. I do have one leg printed. I don't have the other leg. I have to assemble the arms and get his head finished. It's going to be a lot of stuff in this picture if I get this set up like this. Holy cow. Figure out how to slip in here, get in my photo without knocking everything down. This is what goes into one of these setups. It's a little ridiculous. And once I get all the elements that I'm going to have in here, I will probably reshuffle things and balance the photo a bit better. But I think the bug droid looked kind of cool back there. It'll be a neat spot. His arms are clearly all coming out of the shoulders and everything. I have to fix that. Bring the silver bug droid head and maybe put it in here somewhere else so that it's just even more stuff to look at. I wish I had two of these red guards. That would be cool. But I don't. I think that's probably more than enough stuff. My bug droid right here, I need to sort of half assemble his arms. I wanted to paint him black before, there goes the dogs, always. I wanted to paint him black before the shoot, but it has been raining every single day, so he's going to have to go unfinished. I still think he looks pretty cool, but I need to put his arms on and hands. So what I'm going to do is to make sure the arms sit properly on the pipe. Now that these arms don't have that weird piston like 3PO's arms do, they bend at a full 90 degrees, and I need to run the PVC through, and I want to center it. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece of foam that fits in here. So I'm going to press this in, make an indentation like this, and I'm going to cut this out on the bandsaw and then do the same thing in the middle, so the PVC pipe will fit through. It'll just be a little insert that goes in here, and it'll just be a guide to help it stay in place. And I think this could be really handy even for 3PO. I'll just keep a couple of these little foamy discs around, so when I put the suit on display, it'll help keep them posed properly and keep the arms from sliding around on the PVC in ways that I don't want. All right, so I've got my circle marked. So we'll just cut this guy real quick. There we go. So here's our insert. So same deal, I'm just using a piece of PVC. This is the same diameter as the arms. Centered up close, doesn't need to be perfect, just decent. Make my mark. And then I'm just gonna hog it in right through the outside. There we go. So I got my hole. Take my arm for my mannequin. This should fit around here. The arm should pop over this, and the foam should tuck inside, just like that. And now the arm won't move around, and it stays centered on the pipe itself. And the other end will be supported by the hands. It doesn't really matter. I just need one in each arm. And this will help keep, what happens is the whole arm will slide down and try to come off. So this will help keep it in a better position. There we go. Alright, so we almost have the Christmas shot set up. You see here, K2 is kind of the right. I know it looks like crap because I'm looking at a tiny little screen with my camera. And the lamp is pretty nice and bright in the middle of the image, and everything else is in shadow, but it's there, which is kind of what I want. It's harder to tell looking through the video camera. But here's kind of what the setup looks like. K2 obviously is right here in the foreground. He's on a little stack of wood on a stool so that he's the right height for the camera, which is back here. I wanted to use my 50mm lens and put the camera actually outside of the room, but it is pouring rain right now, and it's messing everything up. So got the dog over here watching me. So you can see the setup. It does look like it's blowing out a little bit on this camera, but it looks very nice on my DSLR. Obviously I have the light on, so it's casting light down in this area, making a little pool of light here. But I wanted to get some highlights on the lamp up here so that the actual dome would show up. So I have a light here, big soft light, making this spot here, and then I have a little dual light over here, looks like this, that is aimed this way to hit. It kind of glances off of the dome this way a little bit, so on the front edge you'll get a nice highlight when you look at it through the camera over there. We get a little highlight on the front, and then I have the second light here, the closest to us, pointed a little across. Not enough to hit the back wall, so the back wall will stay dark, but this droid is going to get a little bit of highlight, and then the red droid and the Stormtrooper will just get a little bit of light, along with this as well. But mostly these guys, I just want a little bit of light on them so you can see the detail. I have another light here that is pointing to K2SO to be sure that he, let's turn this on again so we see. So we want him to catch a little bit of light too, like he's standing close to that lamp. So in order to make it look like he's actually in this scene and not right in front by the camera, I have to fake the light a little bit on him. So that's kind of the basic lighting setup at the moment. I turned off some of the regular lights that I have in my room to make the room a little bit darker. And most of the lights that are in here are aimed. I do have this strap light. Let me see what it looks like with this off. That's not bad either. And it's going to get cropped in. This image is going to get cropped like halfway through K2 and then almost to the edge of the Stormtrooper, so we won't see this light over here on the right. And the only Photoshop, I'll probably make some level adjustments in Photoshop, but the only real Photoshop that's going to happen will be I'm going to light up K2's eyes. But here's the setup. I'll get a photo in a few minutes. I'm going to get in the photo right in this area. Everything is ready to go. Got my camera settings all right. And then I thought about it, and I realized maybe I should switch from the CF card, which is in my Canon, that I usually use, but I don't know where my card reader is right now. So I was like, oh, I'll switch it to this adapter that I have that takes SD cards, because I have an SD port on my laptop. And I've used it a ton of times. It works fine. Went to switch it, and it wouldn't read. It's really weird. So I was like, okay, maybe something's going on. I didn't know. So I swapped back to my CF card, and wouldn't read. And I looked inside and I broke a little pin. One of the little pins were in my card reader in my camera is broken. My camera I've had since 2010. It's worked like a champ for years and years and years. Been through the mill and it just stopped. I'm thinking I'm going to send it in to have it fixed. But anyway, I have reverted to doing these files on my phone, and I've taken a whole bunch of pictures, but it's hard to get one that I'm happy with because it's going to be on the internet forever. So I'm doing them here. Not my optimal way to do it, but my camera takes pretty good photos. My phone takes pretty decent photos. So I'm going to run with it, and we'll see how it goes. So you can see it's taken me lots and lots of tries to get one I'm happy with. And now that I've selected one, let's go do some quick edits in Photoshop to get rid of any little imperfections and do some color correction, and then we'll post this thing. Alright, so here is the final picture. Now, it definitely looks more contrasty on video than it does in person. I will actually put the picture in the video so you'll be able to see. This is in Photoshop. I have not done very much. I've cropped the image so that it cuts down. I want it to be balanced. I didn't want to show too much background, so I based it on the edge of how much I could see of K2SO here. I didn't want to cut in too far. Basically made it symmetrical so the lamp was in the middle. All the Photoshop I did, here are my layers right here. I kept it pretty simple. There is this layer here, curves, is just so that I could test, because the only thing I added to the photo were K2SO's eyes, which are, let's see, where did I put those? I didn't name any layers, which is a bad habit. So his eyes look like that. So I added some eyes from the actual a shot from the film. That's the only thing I added. But because it's so dark, this corner here, I couldn't see the other eye, which is why I added this curves layer, which in person it shows me where the other eye is. On camera here, I'm not able to see it looking through the camera right now, but I can see it in person. And that's how I figured out where the other eye was. And I turn that on. I'm going to turn off all the adjustments here. So this right here is how it looked right out of the camera. Again, I really wish I could use my DSLR, but I was unable to, which is unfortunate. Let's see, then I did a couple little patches. So let's see if you can see that. Like, look on the dome. I'll turn it off and I'll turn it back on. There's a chip in the dome where it fell over one time, so I did a little fix there. And a couple little ugly spots on my RA7 droid, because it's in progress right now and you can barely see. I didn't do very much to it, but a couple little like print lines that hadn't been cleaned up yet, I just took those off in Photoshop. That's pretty much it there. Then I did a little bit of adjustment. It's really subtle, you can't even see it. It's so subtle. Then K2SO's eyes. Then I adjusted the eyes so they wouldn't be as bright. I wanted to tone them down a bit. I didn't want them to be obnoxious. Then I did a color adjustment right there. It's real subtle, but the overall photo has a bit of a yellow glow. And I like some yellow glow, but I didn't want all of it, so I turned it down around the edges of the photo and left it around the lamp. So the warm was in the middle. Then I did a hue saturation adjust on something else in the scene. I think the Stormtrooper had an extra little spot to do. Background, I made it a little bit more contrasty so the background would be a slight bit darker. And then I gave a little tiny bump to the light here on the lamp. Again, barely noticeable. I then lightened the dome a little more so it stand out. So on, off, on, just a tiny bit. They're really subtle adjustments. And then I gave a vignette around the whole image. Again, really subtle. So the original image and the final are really not that much different from each other. A good way to check to see if a photo is reading well is to take and turn down all of the saturation, make it black and white, just based on saturation. Don't mess with doing like a enhanced black and white. Sometimes those presets are kind of biased the way the black and white reads based on colors in the picture, but if you just turn down the saturation, you can see your values, and you can see if the photo reads in black and white, then you'll know that it will work in color. That's a pretty good trick to know. So another thing to look at too is when I was showing the light setup, that light I had off over here to the right, you can see it makes a nice little highlight along the edge of my arm. So I have the shadow,
have a nice little highlight on the inside edge here, which helps it stand out from stuff in the background. I think it works pretty nicely. So let's get to posting this all over the interwebs.